What's good? You are now rocking with the Bigs. My name is Herb Howard. Huge day for the Chicago Bears as they make the highly anticipated move of firing head coach Matt Nagy. They also made the less anticipated move of firing general manager Ryan Pace. The Bears hit the reset button, and now they will begin the search to find the replacements for their exiled leadership. GM Ryan Pace in his 7 seasons with the Chicago Bears had a total record of 48-65, 0 playoff wins. He will be most remembered for the misses at the quarterback position. He traded up from number 3 to number 2 to select Mitch Trubisky in a draft that would also see Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson go after Mitchell Trubisky, who is now the backup quarterback with the Buffalo Bills. Head coach Matt Nagy, his record 34-31 in 4 seasons with the Chicago Bears, also 0 playoff wins. He started off phenomenal, 12-4, won the NFC North in his first year. He was named NFL Coach of the Year. That season ended tragically with a double doink at Soldier Field against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Bears simply never recovered. Each season after that continued to get worse. Ultimately, the Bears were 6-11 in the 2021 season. Not good enough, and Matt Nagy was fired along with general manager Ryan Pace this morning. Both of those moves were warranted. I'm not disagreeing with any of those moves. Both of those guys had the opportunities to prove that they were the right man for the position. It simply did not work out for either of them. However, I am not at all confident in the Bears' leadership in terms of the front office. When you talk about George McCaskey or you talk about Ted Phillips, will they actually put the right guys in place? I have zero confidence that they will do that. These are the same guys who hired Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. They were also the same guys who hired Phil Emery and Mark Trestman. They brought in John Fox. None of these moves have worked out, and so I'm just not confident that the Bears will get it right this time either. However, if they do, I do think the Bears have an opportunity to put the right people in place. I think you look at, for general manager, first call I would make would be to Louis Riddick. You talk to that Louis Riddick, you find out if he's interested in coming to the Chicago Bears. I would be very, very surprised if he's not interested. You make him an offer. You make him the guy in the general manager spot. Let him make all the football decisions. Let him go out and go on his coaching search, figure out who's going to be the guy to lead the football activities on the field. But I think Louis Riddick is a guy who understands the NFL landscape. He understands personnel. He knows the salary cap. He knows everything there is to know about the inner workings of the National Football League and how to build a winner from the inside out. I think Louis Riddick would certainly be the very first phone call that the Bears should make in terms of who is going to be their general manager. Do I think they're going to do that? I don't know. But he certainly should be the first guy they call. After that, I would think that the head coach that I would look for, I do not want the Bears to go and hire one of these retread head coaches and give another one of these guys another recycled head coach. There are a lot of young talent in the NFL in terms of coaching that you can bring in. And I think for me, the first guy they should go ahead and call is Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Byron Leftwich was a first-round pick as a quarterback in the National Football League, had some success early in his career with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and has been wildly successful as an offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They obviously won a Super Bowl last year. They continue to be highly productive on offense this year. Certainly he does have Tom Brady, but I think that Byron Leftwich has proven himself as a play caller and as an offensive organizer and strategist. I think he is a guy who could come in as a head coach and be the exact tutor that Justin Fields needs to maximize his potential. You have to have somebody who's going to come in here and allow Justin Fields to maximize his potential. Then you turn yourself to the other side of the football. What happens for the Bears defensively if indeed you do go and bring in a guy like Byron Leftwich? Is Byron Leftwich able to bring Todd Bowles with him, who is the defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Bowles will also have his opportunities as a head coach. But if he does not land as a head coach and he's willing to come to Chicago with Byron Leftwich, that would certainly be a good move for Byron Leftwich and for the Chicago Bears. If not, perhaps you can talk Vic Fangio into coming back and being the defensive coordinator. Vic Fangio left the Chicago Bears to go be the head coach out in Denver. He was also fired this weekend following a failed tenure as the head coach of the Denver Broncos. Perhaps he still wants to coach and he'd be willing to come back and coach the Bears defense as their coordinator. The Bears were highly successful under Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator before he left to go to Denver. I think many of the players would welcome him back as their defensive coordinator. I also wouldn't rule out the fact of current defensive coordinator Sean Desai coming back. Depending on who the head coach is, they may also be interested in retaining Sean Desai. I think he's done a good job. I think he's been put in a tough spot in terms of personnel, not having the depth that he's needed in terms of the secondary with the cornerback position. He's seen a lot of attrition in the front seven, but I think that all in all, Sean Desai is a very bright football mind. He understands what he wants to do defensively, and I think that if the new head coach is willing to bring him back, that would certainly be a good move for the Chicago Bears. All of that will be moot if George McCaskey, Ted Phillips, the Bears brass, the Bears front office is unable to make the right decisions. They did go ahead and make the right decisions. They hit the reset button. They tried as long as they could with Ryan Pace and with Matt Nagy. It simply did not work out. We heard from many of the Bears players this morning. They all expressed similar sentiments. They were certainly sad to see those guys go. Those two brought most of these guys into the National Football League. Many of these young players have not seen a regime change like this in terms of the general manager and the head coach leaving. So they were certainly sad to see them go, but they all understood that this is a production-based business, and the Bears simply have not produced at a high enough level. Some of the players took personal accountability. All of them expressed a desire to get better individually and collectively going forward and doing whatever it needs to do for the Bears to become successful in the future. So as we sit here today, the Bears have fired head coach Matt Nagy. They've also fired general manager Ryan Pace, and the search begins. Who will replace them? Who will be the Bears' next general manager, and who will be the Bears' next head coach? They need to answer those questions sooner than later. We'll find out who the Bears are interested in interviewing and when that interview process will start. Keep it right here with the Bigs Media for the very latest from the Chicago Bears as they begin their coaching search and their general manager search. Who will carry the Bears into the future? For the Bigs Media, my name is Herb Howard. It's us.